Hi everyone, welcome to the Arrow Sales Trajectory. Today I have Troy Moulder with me. Troy is the National Sales and Marketing Manager for Winch Hire, but Troy is also heavily involved with the HRIA. And yeah, great to have you here today. Thanks, Troy.
Thanks, Jason. Thank you for having me. It's a pleasure to be here.
Yeah, and look, Troy and I met actually probably about 4 or 5 years ago, and I think at that time you were in between sort of roles, and obviously I was just starting in my with Arrow as well, so it was good for us to recently catch up. We're looking to get more involved with the industry. Troy, just give us a bit of a background on yourself and where you're at the moment, and maybe go backwards as far as your experience.
Going backwards, mate. That's going a long way into the past. So my career kicked off about 25 years ago, back in around about year 2000. Um, I took up a role with a private company in Adelaide, South Australia, as a keen account manager for an access company. And that's predominantly where my career started. The general manager could see something in me at the time, took me under his wing, and showed me the ropes of the industry. And everything has probably flourished ever since. I've worked for multiple hire companies over the years, and we've done a couple of startups for some investors over the time as well. And it's just moved. It's been great being in the industry for that period of time, but it has certainly evolved over those years, and we've seen many changes.
Well, I think particularly at the moment, I mean, yeah, if you look at it since year 2000, I mean, there has been a lot of changes and a lot of acquisitions, and a lot of companies are downscaling, and but then again, a lot of growth as well in some of the tough times. So, what about just give us a bit of a more rundown on. So you mainly started in sales, Troy?
Yeah, so I did. I started in sales, and like I said, I started off as an account manager, and quickly grew into a state sales manager. And my career progressed from there, and then I slowly got into management and becoming branch manager of other companies. But really, deep down, I'm into sales. I love that interaction with people and solving their problems, especially when they come to you and they're scratching their head, wondering how they're going to get by, or get it solved, and you're able to come up with a reasonable solution for them. And that client almost becomes a friend over time, and you build such great relationships with them. And you might move on from one company to the next, as you do, and a lot of salespeople in the industry move around a little bit, but you're able to keep those relationships going because it's more of a friendship with those people. So I've had that experience over time, and I've moved from a couple of companies to try and see where I fit. And sometimes we move to a company and we're a square peg in a round hole. And we'll move on to another company to try and see if we fit a bit better. And it comes down to the company itself. What the culture's like within the business, and making sure you fit and you've got a good support behind you. And I've done that, and I've really found my fit with Winch Hire Australia here in Brisbane. I'm the National Sales Manager and Marketing Director there for the company. I sit closely with the owner of the company, Brett Williamson, and quite often we catch up. We talk about strategic planning and moving the business forward. 5 years ago, when I joined Winch Hire Australia, it was a family-owned business with one branch in Sydney, in Brisbane, should I say. And since then, I've written a business plan, set up their financials, and we've opened up an operations in Sydney. That's now 2 years young, and we've now got Victoria, Melbourne in our sights. So that's our next one. So we're expanding at a nice growth sort of pace, where it's not too slow, not too fast, but it's possible because we're able to do that given the clientele and the type of service that we provide, but also the team that we have back in the business. And we've got great support, great culture. And I think that's what a lot of people look for in the hire industry, especially when they're looking for the right business to sort of join and sort of equip themselves with. But yeah, it's been a one hell of a journey over the years. I've met some fantastic people. I was worked closely with Ray Kelsey from Aim Hire. And if anybody knows Ray Kelsey from the industry, I would say he's like Elvis Presley of the hire game. So,
Okay, well, there you go. I'll have to meet. Okay.
no, you can't meet him. So unfortunately, Ray passed a couple of years ago. So,
Sorry about that. That's
pretty sad, and
no.
hit the industry pretty hard. But really good guy, and he started at the bottom of Recair back in the day when it was a very small business, and he went from being a wash boy in the out the back to CEO and chairman.
Wow, that's amazing. Oh, look, I mean, I've had some fairly good mentors myself, and some are here and some aren't. I mean, I suppose that's what happens when you've been in the industry for 30 years, but you always look back at some of those great mentors and people, and I still know the families as well. So, I mean, look, I mean, you gave us a good rundown, and I mean, what's the, say if you went back 20 years ago when you started, how would you compare the industry now?
Oh, look, it's changed and it's evolved so much over the years, and especially with rules and regulations. Safety is probably the biggest key here in the industry, and we're heavily involved in construction. So I've seen the industry go from strength to strength when it comes to safety and how we're trying to make our people safer every day using the equipment. And it comes down to engineering, electronics, and just making the equipment bigger and better. So people, when they're doing their job, they get to go home safely during the day and see their family at the end of the workday. So it's been a bit of a whirlwind of an industry over the years, and there's been a lot of changes with the equipment over the years, and obviously being part of HRIA, there's been a lot of legislation that's been changed too, for the better, of course.
Look, I think that's it is. It's a very important area, and you see a lot of things each day as to why safety is so important for people, and I suppose you've got to expect the unexpected, and I think it would have created some opportunities though as well. I mean, all these safety requirements, I mean, for new innovation and ways to create your products and services more based around that safety area. So that's quite interesting, and I mean, what sort of shapes the industry in at the moment? I mean, things are, obviously varies in each state. I think Victoria's doing it pretty tough at the moment, but I mean, how's the industry seeing the sales volumes at the moment?
Sales industry here in Brisbane is pretty strong, Jason. We've got plenty of work going on. There's lots of infrastructure going around. Sydney's probably relatively the same. I'm still yet to see Sydney. A lot of people talk about the bubble will burst in Sydney, and it'll slow down. I'm yet to see that happen. So I'd have to say the industry is still quite strong, and yes, we have our peaks and troughs, and that goes from project to project. Right, we get major projects in the cities, they come off, and then we have a bit of a lull period, and then we're waiting for another major project to come on. I think if you're smart as a business operator or sales manager or business owner, you want to try and spread it out as much as you can and hit up several different types of industries and make sure you're networking properly with those industries and you're able to supply and sort of build some great relationships, far and beyond.
Yeah, I mean, and I think just explain to us a little bit about Winch Hire as well, because you guys are very specialised in what you do.
Yeah, so Winch Hire came about 29 years ago, and it's a funny story. The owner of Winch Hire, Brett Williamson, was working for his dad at the time under Impact Supplies, and he had some winches out the back that he'd acquired, and someone came in off the street looking to borrow one of those winches, and Brett pretty much turned around and said, I'll hire it to you. From there on, Winch Hire was born, and slowly we have acquired some very specialised machinery over the years. A lot of it is custom built, some of it by us, some of it by other manufacturers upon our request. And predominantly what we do is we are very specialised in shifting and lifting of heavy objects or equipment. We also do a lot of underground cable hauling too. So if you think of when an estate's built and it's full of houses and everybody turns all the light switches on and everything works, well, if you go back to the building stage or you go back to the civil stage, somehow there's electrical cables, a lot of them, that have got to be pulled underground to make all that happen. And that's where we come in, and we specialise in supplying the equipment, so the winching and all the accessories that go with that. And we help those companies pull those cables underground. I actually also have a ticket as a workplace trainer and assessor. So I've developed what we call the VOC course under the Winch Hire banner, because we're seeing a lot of tier one companies now saying, well, where's your certificate of competency? How are you a competent operator of this equipment? So I developed a new training course within Winch Hire, and I go out and I'm able to train people on the equipment, show them how to use it effectively and safely, and then I sign them off under my trainer's number, and they have a VOC. We're one of probably the only companies on the Eastern Seaboard that's able to supply that service to our clients. But it's an interesting industry that I'm in. When I first met Brett, I thought of winches as in four-wheel drive winches, because that's the first thing that pops into your brain. And then I realised that we were pulling massive amounts of high voltage cables underground for hundreds of metres, even kilometres. So when people turn the lights on at home, they work.
It's quite amazing, and that's why I'm really interested in the industry, because, I mean, I've spent 30 years in construction, manufacturing, building materials, and I think for me it's great to see the other side of it. I mean, because, there's so much more that goes into all these developments and making all this happen. So just a question from my side, I'll just jump in here. How do you personally see, or how's the industry finding salespeople at the moment? Do a lot of the hire companies have a lot of salespeople? And what would you say about the quality of people out there at the moment?
Look, I have to say the industry it's pretty slim at the minute. And as you know, cost of living's been really hard, and the price of electricity and everything like that's gone through the roof. And a lot of people are jumping around from one company to the next, obviously, because they're finding it tough financially. So it is a bit hard at the moment if you're looking for salespeople, and if you're going to advertise. I think you get very little sort of coming back through that pipeline, and it's hard to find really good skilled people within the industry. But in saying that, I think it's time now that the hire industry really looked at, how it is that we're going to help some of the younger generation, those that are leaving school, looking for a change of career, how we can upskill them and get them into the hire industry and get them more involved and become good salespeople. But also,
look, you're right. I mean, we're actually pretty guilty. I think most industries of not investing in future talent. I mean, and I think, a lot of people think that just because a salesperson's going to turn up, they're going to solve all your problems. A lot of these issues, as you know, go a lot deeper. That's where we get involved in it. I mean, I'm all for industry. I was a trainee, 30 years ago. So, I mean, I think you're right. And if we don't do something soon, what we're going to find is that the salaries are going to continue to push up. But unfortunately, we're still not going to get our bang for our buck, because a lot of the people are getting, a lot of the candidates are getting a job because they've got industry experience. But as you know, just because you've got industry experience doesn't mean you're good at selling or you're going to perform in a particular environment at a company. And that's what we're finding at the moment. A lot of companies are going, things are slowing. We need better salespeople. And then because we need to grow the sales. And then if the leaders, if they're not recruiting well, all of a sudden someone new comes on, they don't go well, they fail, they start again. So it's like a revolving door. I don't know whether you know at the moment, but the average salesperson tenure at the moment is about 17 months. And I've seen some ones shorter than that lately. So sometimes there's no return on investment at all. It's actually a
The
cost.
companies, I think too, Jason, the companies need to realise that you need to invest in your people also and give adequate training. And that's what I've been talking about with the owners of Winch Hire is upskilling our people and training them.
Mm.
And, we'll have another position in Sydney soon that comes about. And we're talking about the succession plan of that particular person that comes into our business. We look at culture of people. And we look at, if that person's going to be a right fit to the business. We're of the mindset now, we're not looking for the orange-haired unicorn with 3 legs that can play a violin. There are some companies that are looking for that on the market, and they spend a lot of money either privately advertising through several platforms on the internet using recruiters. And they kind of look at themselves and say, well, why can't we find that person? Because that person really doesn't exist. And I've always said, let's go 60-40. Give me 60% of what I'm looking for, and we'll teach them the other 40.
Yeah, it's a good point.
My prime example is the branch coordinator I've got in Sydney. He's not out of the industry at all. He comes from an engineering background, which I thought was fantastic. Engineering, the guy's got mechanical aptitude. He knew how to turn a computer on and off and understood a little bit of software. We've taught him the rest. And he loves working with our company. We've got a great culture. But for me, it was about his culture as a person, his morals, what he wanted to do and where he saw himself in the next 5 years. And we taught him the rest. We gave some time to him, and we actually slowed things down, slowed the process down and said, okay, this is what it looks like. These are our expectations and where we want you to be, but not today. We're going to just teach you this little bit today, and tomorrow we're going to teach you a little bit more. And Aaron's just absolutely flourishing in Sydney, loves working for the company.
Yeah, no, that's great.
We've seen some great figures come out of Sydney since then. So we've invested our time in him as a person, and we've trained him. And we've been empathetic when things aren't going quite right. They never do, let's face it, when you've got new people on board. And we've supported him along the way. So I think companies need to look at that aspect of it as well. We might not find the perfect.
Yeah, and look, it's a great point. Excuse me, I'm glad you brought it up. I think the big thing out of that I take away is you're giving your time, you're investing your time in the person. And I think that's the situation where a lot of companies, everyone's so busy, they're juggling so many hats. There's no systems, there's no process. Unfortunately, the salesperson's set up to fail before they even get there. So I think, it's great that you're allocating that time and you understand. I think that's why we got along pretty well when we caught up, was because you understand the importance of coaching and being able to be there for that person. So Troy, just you've got a fairly major event, and what's your role within the HRIA as well? You've just started a new role there, is that right?
Yes, so the Hire and Rental Industry Association obviously has been around for many years, and I was just appointed as a non-executive director and Queensland's president. So I look after the association here in Queensland and the members here, and try and reach out as much as we can to talk to the members and catch up with them. So it's about the associations, about the industry overall. We've got Kennards, we've got Coates, we've got some of the biggest companies in Australia, hire companies that are part of the HRIA and have been for many years. And I've really taken over Queensland to try and grow our membership base here, but also give our members some value back. And I've spoken to so many members that go, oh, this is great. So we did our first regional meeting last year, which was in Rockhampton. We had about 70 members rock up to that, and it was a really great
that's awesome.
state meeting. It was awesome. And I said to all the members there, I said, from here on every year, we're just going to do one regional meeting a year, because it's really important that we go and see our regional people and show them a bit of love and some support, because a lot of our members go, I thought I just got a glossy magazine every quarter. And I said, no, there's so much more to the HRIA. We've got affiliations with insurance. We've got HRIA insurance. So if you're a hire company that needs to talk to us about insurance and policies and stuff like that, we can help you there. We've got accounting firms that are affiliated with the HRIA, HR, legal. So, it's not just this glossy magazine that you're going to receive every quarter.
Sales,
correct? Yes, sales. So you're not just going to get this glossy magazine that comes out every quarter, and you flick through it and you go, "There's some nice stories in there. That's great." But it's about valuating for our members, and obviously we've got a lot to do when it comes to legislation and the industry itself too. So we're a loud voice for the industry, and we like to support our members. And it's been great. I've been the president now for just over a year. I was just reappointed again for the next year. And it's awesome. I get to meet so many people from different walks of life. I get to listen to their stories, and you hear about some hire companies. They've come about from owning 2 pieces of equipment, and now they've got 600 pieces of equipment,
it's
and
amazing.
a flourishing business. So some great success stories in there. So it's awesome.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to, again, I think it's about adding value and that one conversation that someone can go, you know what, like this has been, I've had business owners say to me, "Jace, I've been struggling for 20 years to get the sales part right."
Yeah.
And I always remember those conversations, and I think it's a very fast moving space. It's becoming more challenging. It's the great dividing range, unfortunately, between talent and a lot of experienced salespeople and business like if you're any good at sales, you're probably in a leadership role or a management role. But and I think that's the big area for the industry is because, as you know, when things do tighten up, you need to be able to have those consultative discussions and being a good listener and being able to sell on the value as well. I think that's the big part. But I think going back to what you mentioned to start with as well, I think it's we've spoken recently about this as well. It's about having the sales technology now and the processes so that you can scale, or if someone leaves, they can start without carry on instead of starting from scratch,
Right.
And so it's look, it's been really great to catch up with you today. Obviously do appreciate your time, and if anyone wants to get hold of Troy, obviously Winch Hire, or you can look on LinkedIn, or you can contact myself. And I'm really looking forward to the conference as well, which is not that far away, and finding out more about the industry.
Yeah, look, and the HRIA has actually got their convention coming up in a couple of months. So if you want to know a little bit more about the convention here in Brisbane, it's going to be one of the biggest conventions we've seen in a number of years. You can jump onto our webpage, obviously that's hria.com.au, and have a look there. And that's going to be full of the latest and greatest technologies and software that the industry has to offer. And obviously we'll be there too, so supporting HRIA.
No, sounds great. Appreciate your time again, Troy. Have a great weekend.
Thanks, Jason. Good to see you.
Thank you.